the Mission Viejo City Council, the Community Development Financing Authority, the successor agency of the Community Development Agency, the Housing Authority, and the Library Board of Trustees. I see that we have all of our council members present, except for Councilmember Raths, who was here and had to move to a different location and will be there in a few minutes. So he will be joining us shortly. We are going to move to closed session. I'd like to ask the city attorney, are there any items for closed session tonight? And city clerk, if there are any requests to speak on any closed session item.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have one properly agendized closed session item, CS1. Again, the Voting Rights Act matter. I am aware the clerk will be seeking the council consent to add an item, remembering that takes a 4/5 vote of the whole council. In this case, with 4 of you here, we need unanimous to add one 4-part item. And you need to find that the need arose after the agenda was posted and there's a need to take immediate action. We believe it's satisfied. It has to deal with city representation of legal services. And so with that, I'll defer to Madam Clerk for the actual text.
Thank you. This is for the public employee appointment, public employment, public employee performance evaluation, and public employee discipline dismissal release as for the city attorney. Do I have a motion to add this?
So moved. By Trish.
Second.
Second by Wendy.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
What is this motion?
It's a motion to add an item, has to do with for closed session, has to do with the representation of the city for legal services.
Okay, I vote aye.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, that passes.
Greg votes aye.
Oh, great.
Oh, that was
Great.
good.
Oh,
Good job.
Greg, all right.
Hey, he drove fast. You made it.
I didn't get the memo. All dressed up and nowhere.
And Mr. Mayor, I do have a public comment on CS1.
Okay,
that I'd
please
like
read
to
it.
Okay. My name is Kathy Schlicht. Over the years, the city attorney has done nothing but try to intimidate and mock me into silence. I wonder why. I have 3 letters from the Office of the Secretary of State. The first letter is dated May 3rd, 2019, signed by Chief Counsel Stephen J. Reyes. This letter supports Secretary of State Padilla's position, and I quote, "The proposed use of cumulative voting in municipal elections in a general law city must be authorized by the state legislator. In the absence of such statutory authority, it is our view that the city of Mission Viejo is not authorized to use cumulative voting," unquote. My second letter is dated February 25th, 2020, addressed to Mayor Goodell with a copy sent to City Attorney William Curley, signed by the Secretary of State himself, Alex Padilla. This letter appears to be a letter of reprimand to the City Attorney's inaccurate characterizations of interactions with the Secretary of State's office. At the September 10th, 2019 City Council meeting, the City Attorney made public claims that the Secretary of State was not cooperating. Secretary of State Padilla denied Mr. Curley's statements, and I quote, "To the contrary, we have been forthright in sharing with Mr. Curley our position with respect to state law and our view of the statutory changes needed to authorize the use of alternative election systems," unquote. Again, on May 1st, 2020, Secretary of State Alex Padilla signed another letter addressed to Mayor Goodell, strongly rebuking the city's mischaracterizations of his office. The opening paragraph reads that I quote, "I write to express and document my profound disappointment with your inaccurate characterization of a phone conversation of April 24th, 2020, which included you, the city attorney, and other city staff, and my chief counsel, Steve Reyes," unquote. Mr. Padilla further stated, "Our position remains unchanged. We do not believe your legal analysis regarding the California Voter Rights Act has merit." The letter continued, and I quote, "During my last call with you, I shared that we were willing to look past the serious concerns we raised in our February 25th, 2020 letter regarding Mr. Curley's mischaracterization of our office's previous interactions. But given the continued misrepresentations of our communications, I am reconsidering this offer and may prefer to wait to comment on proposed legislation once it has been properly introduced in the legislature. Sincerely, Alex Padilla, California Secretary of State. So what was the apparent result of the city attorney being admonished by the Secretary of State? A letter dated May 20th, 2020, authorized by the Mission Viejo City Council, and I quote, "The City of Mission Viejo, after further analysis and discussions with state officials, has concluded that the California Voting Rights Act is constitutional and serves the best interest of the voters. Accordingly, the City of Mission Viejo wishes to unconditionally withdraw from the amicus brief filed on its behalf on May 6, 2020, unquote. This letter was sent to the Supreme Court of the United States with a copy to the Secretary of State. At the last council meeting, I stated that everyone should be fired. I stand behind my position. Copies of these letters have been forwarded to the Registrar of Voters, Judge Walter P. Schwarm, and the press." And that concludes her public comment. We can now adjourn to closed session.
Okay, we adjourn to closed session. We will return at 6 p.m. for the public session of the meeting. That's it. Thank you. Okay, great, thanks. Thank you. So all council members are present and accounted for. I would like to ask the city attorney to report on CS1 closed session 1 item, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council and public. We've had an ongoing matter with voting rights that's well known in the community. We have been working collaboratively with a number of parties and pointedly the plaintiff to try to come up with a voting strategy that best serves all of the residents, all the voters, regardless of ethnicity or any classifications. We are getting close. We are very close, but not yet ready to proceed. And to that end, the plaintiffs have kindly agreed with the city. It was a mutual decision that what we will do is we're asking the court to continue the stipulated judgment, in essence, push it down the road for 2 years. This election will be as the city is used to. There will be 2 seats up. Those are presently occupied by the mayor and mayor pro tem. Those will be for 2-year terms. We all believe the court will have no difficulty embracing this, in that it's a stipulated decision between the parties. Good faith is demonstrated, and we are all working towards that. I'm in regular touch with plaintiffs' legal counsel and other interested parties. So to that end, for this election, which we'll be calling perhaps tonight, it's on the agenda, will be your normal format. Again, the 2 seats, this time for a 2-year term for them. And the remaining folks, rather than a 2-year, will have a 4-year term. So in a sense, really, nothing will have changed until 2022 to allow the right things to happen as they should. So with that, Mayor, Council, that is CS1's report out.
Thank you. And for CS2, very good. Okay, moving on to number 22 now. The general municipal election on November 3rd, 2020. Can we have a staff report, please?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. The resolutions presented for adoption by the City Council will commence the election process for the city's general municipal election to be held on Tuesday, November 3rd, 2020, for the purpose of electing, now directed out of closed session, 2 City Council members based on tonight's direction, and out of closed session, sorry, I just said that, for a term of 2 years. The first resolution calls and gives notice of the holding of the general municipal election. The second resolution requests the Board of Supervisors of the County of Orange to consolidate the general municipal election with the statewide general election And the third resolution pertains to regulations for the candidate statement of qualifications. To comply with minority language provisions of the Voting Rights Act, candidate statements are required to be translated into the Spanish, Vietnamese, Korean, and Chinese languages. Excuse me. To cover the printing and translation costs, candidates who submit an optional 200-word candidate statement of qualifications will be required to pay $779.29, which has been calculated by the Register of Voters. Candidates wishing to submit a candidate statement will pay the required fee at the time nomination papers are filed. An alternate option allows candidates to submit an electronic statement that will not be printed in the voter information guide, but will be available on the Register of Voters website. For a 200-word statement, the costs for only an electronic candidate statement would be $301.29. The period for filing candidate nomination papers will commence on Monday, July 13th, 2020, and will continue through Friday, August 7th, 2020. If an incumbent who is eligible for re-election does not file nomination papers, the filing deadline will be extended to August 12th, 2020. The Orange County Register of Voters is scheduled to certify the election results on or before December 3rd, 2020. Based on that timeline, the declaration of results and installation of newly elected council members will be tentatively scheduled for the December 8th, 2020 City Council meeting. The total cost to conduct the 2020 consolidated general municipal election has been estimated by the county to be between $98,789 to $125,731. This will be the city's first election since the county implemented its vote center model. Due to variables, an additional $58,000 has been included in the proposed 2021 mid-cycle budget pending approval. And that concludes my report. I do have 2 public comments.
Okay, would you please go ahead and read the public comments?
First one is from Larry Gilbert of Mission Viejo. Good evening, council and staff. It is said that our local government is not transparent, especially as it relates to the November 2020 general election, where all 5 seats of the currently serving council members are up for re-election. Section number 4 of our resolution 16-57, dated December 13th, 2016, reads that both Patricia Kelly and Brian Goodell were elected for the full term of 4 years. Signed, Frank Urey, Mayor, and attested by Karen Hammond, City Clerk. Resolution 18-52, dated December 11th, 2018, reads that Ed Sachs, Wendy Bucknam, and Greg Raths were each elected as members of the City Council for 2-year terms expiring in 2020. Signed by Ed Sachs as Mayor and attested by Karen Hammond, City Clerk. Page 3 of the stipulated judgment to remedy our violation of the CVRA states that the members of the Mission Viejo City Council in office on the date judgment is entered by the Orange County Superior Court shall continue in office until the expiration of their respective terms and until their succession are elected and qualified. Item 2 of that document refers to the rights using cumulative voting as per the negotiated solution to the charges against the city. It amazes me to read the agenda report executive summary where it states that both the number of seats open and the respected terms of years are to be determined. Seriously, do you think we have not read the prior resolutions as mentioned above? Vote no on the first resolution 20-XX as presented. While you are required to call for an election, you cannot leave blank the number of candidates and their term of years stating to be determined. The second resolution 20-XX is fine. We do need to consolidate with all the candidate statements with the county for the ballot. The third resolution 20-XX must be rejected. The opening whereas reads that the purpose is to elect 2 members of the city council is bogus. The cumulative voting solution was that we can cast 5 cumulative votes for the council members, be it 1 or 5 candidates of our choice. Let me close stating that on May 1st, 2020, Secretary of State Padilla notified both Mayor Goodell and our city attorney that his position on cumulative voting, and I quote, "It is up to the legislator to authorize an alternative voting system and that the creation of voting protocols are insufficient under current state law." He added, "So to be crystal clear, I will state again that our office has not agreed to draft or sponsor any legislation related to authorization of alternative voting systems. Candidates for this year's city council election need clarity as they pull papers. Where is your leadership? You can no longer kick the can down Marguerite Parkway." Next one is from Kathy Schlicht of Mission Viejo. Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Kathy Schlicht from Mission Viejo. Is this council trying to steal an election by not having a full election as ordered by the court? Judge Schwarm in July 2018 signed a stipulated judgment that beginning with the November 2020 election, all 5 seats on the city council shall be elected at the same time, unquote. Is the council not only trying to overturn the Judge Schwarm's order, but is it also trying to overturn the results of 2016 elections and the 2018 elections by extending the terms of some of the council members? Where in the state status are the election codes that it gives such power or authority to overturn a duly performed election? The city attorney has magically stated that the election code allows for cumulative voting, and yet for over 2 years, he hasn't been able to find that language. In fact, he knows it's not there because he's been trying to get the state legislator to put the language into the election code. The city attorney on multiple times has publicly stated that he's trying to protect the status quo. So if the council is giving him free rein to do so, this unlawfulness is going too far this time. The positions of the city council members and especially city attorney requires a special trust. That special trust has been violated time after time with your secrecy, with your lack of transparency, with your deceptive language, and now with all 5 of your positions expiring this year, are you again attempting to use deceptive practices engineered by deceptively perceived city attorney to undo the 2016-2018 elections? By establishing a 2-year term for the 2018 elections, you chilled any challengers because of the amount of money that's required to run a race in Mission Viejo. And now 2 years later, you think you have the authority or the right to extend your terms. Show me in the statute where you have that legal right. Maybe it's right next to the cumulative voting statute. So why is the city manager submitting a resolution that states 2 council seats are to go out for election in the November 3rd, 2020 for an unknown term? What's going on? I've been questioning this process for over 2 years because I see the exploitations behind the process. Larry Gable's public comments give the public the details of the 2016 and 2018 resolutions that certified those November elections. You all need to be fired because you have created this hot mess to our election system. That concludes public input.
Okay, thank you. So that's our public comments. Does any of the council members have any questions for staff or comments? Hearing none. Mr. Curley, do you have any comments?
Well, certainly. Despite the, I'll say, confused comments you may have heard, there is nothing illegal. That's patently silly. The city's ordinance is in place. The workings of how this was moving forward was a stipulated judgment, as noted, between the plaintiff and the city. Working together, we are very comfortable with our legal position and how we are moving forward to advance it for the good of the community. I mean, I guess I'm proud to be sort of scolded or accused of things by that misdirected input you got. And it seems to me much like NASCAR. NASCAR for years had a Confederate battle flag as a standard at NASCAR races. NASCAR looked and said, you know what? That isn't right. It isn't appropriate for all people. Develop a system that works properly for every resident, every person. We are working on that. We are working on a program that would have statewide impact. The mechanics of it are being discussed, not the merits of it. And so I have people that just apparently want to keep the Confederate battle flag. They don't want to see anything changed. They can't grasp the notion that things take time to advance. There's no answer for that. So again, I'd much rather be scolded for trying to do the right thing and working with this council and the outside agencies to do it than not. We are in the right position, pointing at various terms and conditions things change. The law allows the change. If their position is nothing can change, then we're in a sorry state. So, again, I'm very proud of what we've been doing and where we're going. And when it's all put together, I think this will be a model on a statewide basis for a city council taking care of all of its residents in a fair, lawful, and proper manner. So kudos to you all. And if you don't understand it, nothing we can do about it.
Was muted, sorry. Okay, so any other questions or comments by council? Then let's move to a vote. Do I hear any objections? Are there any objections to this motion passing?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move the resolution first.
I will second.
That's a good idea. Thank you. Thank you very much for that. Great. So we have a motion and a second. Now, any objections? Okay, the item passes 5-0. Thank you.